Hello, everybody. Good to see all these folks. We're so excited that you all have come to join us. I hope that you remembered from the last time to bring your lunch. And if you didn't bring your lunch to snack on to eat now, I hope that you will get some lunch afterwards. This is not supposed to be instead of lunch. We have to keep up our strength because we in a world, y'all. We are in a world. Welcome, welcome to everybody. I just want to first take a deep breath. This is election day in New York and across the country, and we need a deep breath. And I thank you all for just taking some time to come in and have lunch with us and to talk about this very important thing that we think is what can ground and steel and provide us foundation and feed our internal fortitude and all that so that we can live the vocation that we've been given. So first, welcome to everybody. I'm gonna try to be still so I don't keep disappearing in this on this screen. And thank you for joining us for Auburn's Lead with Love series. Whether you are new to this space or whether you have been joining us on this journey for a while, we want you to know that we're glad that you're here. We want you to know that you are loved. Patrick always says, if no one has said it to you today, let me be the first to tell you that you are loved. And I want to clarify what I mean when I say that it's not that we love the idea of you. This is not theoretical. We love you. Whether you are here in this room or whether you are joining us later on when it gets posted to YouTube, we believe that love and a thriving future is your birthright. It's your birthright. It's our birthright. And that we have work to do so that your future can be thriving and bright and filled with love. And we all have a part to play in building that world that includes all of us. And we all have a part to play in healing from a past that did not. That's why we're doing this work. So thank you for grabbing your lunch and hanging out with us today. Auburn Theological Seminary is a 10-generation theological institution, been around for a long time, founded in 1818, and our mission is to identify and equip leaders from the pulpit to the public square to do something very specific, to build community, to bridge divides, to pursue justice, and to heal the world. And we do this through leadership development, storytelling and narrative change, and research. And we hope that everything we do lifts this aim that we would lead with love. And it is a joy for me to have this conversation with the Reverend Dr. Patrick B. Reyes. I'm gonna call his entire government name today. The Reverend Dr. Patrick B. Reyes, who is the father of Carmelita and Ash, who is the spouse of the amazing Carrie, and she is still with him, came with him to New York. And he is the executive vice president and dean of Auburn Theological Seminary, and he is the next president of Auburn Theological Seminary. And we have been planning the succession of leadership here at Auburn for a while. And we wanted to take you all on this journey with us, to feed your imagination about what might be possible, about what it means to lead with love, and to create space for you to learn more about Auburn, more about what we're doing, and who we are. And so, Patrick, who's going to have the bulk of our conversation today, he is a Chicano writer and theologian, the best-selling author of the award-winning Purpose Gap, Empowering Communities of Color to Find Meaning and Purpose, a book that has inspired colleges and universities to build safe spaces and to create networks for young people. If you don't have this book, I'm gonna put it in the link in the chat, because you need to have this book, especially if you have any intent on creating a healed world with young people for us all. So he's also the author of Nobody Cries When We Die. And I don't know when he has time to do it, so don't ask me, but he just sent off the manuscript, the first draft of his latest book, and maybe he'll talk about that a little later on as well. But we'll put the links to the Purpose Gap and Nobody Cries When We Die in the link, because you should have those books. So I'm going to begin by offering us a practice to ground us today. It's a practice of imagination and memory. And then I'll share a sacred text for us to consider and to make some space for Patrick to share with us. And after that, after we've had an opportunity to hear from Patrick, we're going to take a question that he gives us into our small groups so we can get to know one another, because that's also the point of this, is for us to get to know people who are also yearning for a healed world. So don't y'all leave here by yourself, okay? So a sacred text. The psalmist writes in Psalm 147 of the reason that the psalmist finds joy and a cause, a reason to sing. The psalmist says, "The Lord heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." That's from Psalm 147. And then there's a quote I want to offer from Sean Genwright, author of The Four Pivots. He says, "Healing is not just about repairing what is broken. It's about cultivating wholeness, joy, and connection. Healing is not just about repairing what is broken. It's about cultivating wholeness, joy, and connection." So I want to invite you now, where you are. If you want, you can close your eyes. If not, you don't have to. But to bring to mind a moment when someone's love steadied you. Bring to mind a moment when someone's love steadied you. Not when everything was fixed, but a moment when you felt seen, when you felt held, when you felt like you were strengthened to keep going. Think about that. A moment when someone's love steadied you. They didn't move into fixing, but you felt seen and held and strengthened. Healing is what happens when love touches our wounds and doesn't turn away. I invite you to open up your hands, palm up, and maybe you can imagine that memory that you're holding, that it's resting there. And maybe you can feel the weight of that memory in your hands. And so gently, if you would, just maybe close your hand over that memory with care. Hold it with care. I'm holding two memories, so I've got both of my hands. And I want to end this by making an invitation to you. You can, I'm going to ask you to finish a sentence, and you can write your ending to the sentence in the chat, or you can just hold your ending to the sentence and breathe with it for a little bit. It is, love healed me when. Love healed me when. And I just put one of my memories in the chat. And Mrs. Wilkerson, high school glee club teacher, taught me new songs. Love healed me when Mrs. Wilkerson taught me songs. You can put it in the chat or you can just hold your memory, but let us all just take 3 breaths together. 1. And finally, thank you all for that. And God thanks. I give God thanks for Mrs. Wilkerson. That's a story for another day. Patrick, I've got 2 ways. These 2 ways and for you. Oh, thank you, Meta and Alma in the chat. We'll be saving those. The first is from the Psalm 147. And the second is that quote that Sean Jenwright gifts us through his book, The 4 Pivots. So as you have experienced healing, as you have led leaders and beloved communities in the work of healing, what does this text, Psalm 147, and this understanding from Genright, what does that illuminate in the work of healing and what it means to be healed and to be a healer?
I love the question And I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces on the call. So I'm also love you all very much and grateful to have this time as we think about what love means, and especially tied to healing. So I want to start with, I think in both texts, this idea of a broken heart. Um, I don't know about those on the call, but my heart breaks daily. Um, it breaks daily for my kids, breaks daily for this world. And in leadership, I think one of the challenges that Auburn's been wrestling with is these heartbreaks are sometimes only held personally right now. Me as a leader, this moment that I'm experiencing, and I'll talk a little about neuroscience. That's brokenhearted that only exists in the limbic system. That it's a fight or flight moment. My heart is breaking though because of histories that I've inherited. And I think about this, even the purpose of this call to kind of introduce Auburn and what we're up to is we have a deeper theological imagination. What I love about the psalmist is there is a deeper invitation there to what does it mean to have a broken heart? What does it mean for a people to have a broken heart? So I'm going to offer up a little bit of this historic moment that we're in. We're about 250 years since the colonies declared their independence here in the continental United States. And that's a young history, excessively young history. My heart has been breaking long before that in my ancestral traditions. I think about when Cortez arrives in 1519 and the lies I was told in my education that somehow we worship these Spaniards who arrived on the shore, thought they were gods. There is no historic evidence for that. The opposite was true. I'm a survivor of genocide on this continent. So when I hear like brokenheartedness in the psalmist, I experience in my own bones. I know what that feels like to be exiled in my own lands, to have a broken heart around the violence that has occurred here. I think about what that means for our leadership. Emma, you and I at Auburn in 1818, when we were founded, neither of us were considered human. That is not that long ago. Again, a young history. If I think about in the 1880s, the ordinances that prohibited um, indigenous peoples on these lands all across America from our dance and our language and culture, and those things weren't even restored in law till the late 70s for dance and 90s for language, 1990s. So these are things that like my heart has been breaking over and over again in terms of my own leadership, because as someone who's experienced in my own lineages and my own histories, the kind of ripping apart, the taking, the dehumanization of who I am, that this moment requires something very different from me, at least as a leader. That repair or healing, as we're talking about, is got to go deeper than I had a bad day. Um, my pain is generational, it's in my bones. So when I think about healing centered leadership, and I think about what Jim Wright's offering to us around finding joy, for me, healing centered leadership means healing the roots, going very deep, drawing on the wisdom practices that I'm so glad to see in the chat. So many people name their grandma. I love my grandma. If y'all Carmelita, there's plenty of Carmelita stories in there. I love my daughter. I love sharing and sitting in between the two of them and sharing those traditions and practices that heal us. But what I love is that as we think about what does it mean to be a loving leader in these moments, especially from folks who these rooms were not designed for, these institutions were not designed for, who when I walk in, the immediate assumption is I'm not supposed to be there, or I'm the exception to the rule, and therefore I should I should be exceptional on all things. I should do all the things and then get out of the way when someone actually wants to take up their birthright because this was built for them. Healing means I have to find another way. I could be angry about that. I could be frustrated about that. But if I'm serious about my own healing and the healing of these institutions, the healing that needs to take place on these lands, it requires a deeper imagination back in my history. What does it mean to imagine healing those lineages that yearn for me to recover the stories, traditions, and practices of my ancestors and bring them to a new generation? What does it mean to heal future generations? Give them the ability to connect without the like having to do the both and. I have to learn mainstream and I have to do, my own people stuff. What would it mean to reimagine languages? And, I'll just offer this up as a quick story. It means walking into calls where someone says to me, well, unless Pat, you're talking about like calling the mountains and lakes and rivers by what they used to be called, why can't we just get into the new new imagination of what this means in America? And I'm like, I don't see why it's so wrong to demand, to call for that we can have multiple names for things. I got nicknames. I carry. We can be invited into a both and future where things really are healed. I say this a lot when I facilitate, that I believe our ancestors are rejoicing in us coming together, and our descendants desire it. That we have to lead in a new way, in a healed way that draws on those roots and holds open a possibility for a new healed future. And again, that goes back to that paying attention that we have a broken heart, and that broken heart didn't just come because of what happened today or the torn relationships that happen and need to be repaired in the daily, but that this is generational work that happened long before and happens long after. And I want to say one more thing about leadership, what we're doing at Auburn, at least what we're trying to open up at Auburn in terms of that leadership development, is the hope and imagination that comes for that future is to instill the practices and invitation for people to do that for themselves, to draw on those deep wells, to tend to those deeper histories that are broken, to tend to their own woundedness, and spend some time there to build the habits and practices. Because what we've seen, or at least what we're responding to in our own lead with love, is that can only come from a healed place. There are too many leaders in the movement, in the church, in our institutions that lead from their woundedness. And that does not help. Does not help them, does not help the people they serve. So our invitation is really to take inventory of where that brokenheartedness is, and attend to the healing that is generational, and to draw on the deep wells that we do have and we share together. Oh, there you
go. Thank you. Because I just wanted to follow up with this last part. About leading from our wounds. What's at stake for our children if that's what we continue to do? First of all, what does that look like, and what's at stake for our children if we continue to do that?
I mean, the thing that I love about Carmelita, that's my daughter, who teaches me just about everything I need to know about life. She believes, and I think I hold this most of the time. Like, we just moved to New York. There's 8 million plus people here in New York that want to be my best friend. And she actually holds that imagination open, that there's all these folks who want to be our best friends. And I think for children in particular, the ones that that future generation doesn't just be children, those who are not, that there is friendships that have yet to be had. And the only way we allow space for that, this means regardless of right and left, Republican, Democrat, Presbyterian or Catholic, Baptist or Indigenous, that there is an expansive imagination about who's in our play group. And I think if we can't model that as adults, as leaders who are holding an expansive view of what needs to be healed and can be healed, we allow the poison of division and polarization to continue to seep in our veins and bleed through our blood. I mean, I've just gave to the opening of this answer about what does healing look like or what does brokenheartedness look like. That's a lot of history. And I left like, 90% of my
Mhm.
notes out of that, of what I could be angry about before stepping into this call. But
Mhm.
if I don't do that work of healing and making space for a broader imagination around who and what we're up to and what healing looks like, um, it leaves these deep divisions for our children that their imagination gets erased. They can't imagine across divides, deep divides, that they have friends. Um, and so I think what's at stake for our children is that they see us in our with very for very good reason entrenched in our own. This
Mhm.
is this moment that I'm brokenhearted over this like day today, and I fail to see the 500-year history that I'm healing from and the 500-year future that I know needs to happen, and it requires my work today to do that healing work and to lead others in that healing work. And I think the um, I think our children are watching how we handle that stress. I know Carmelita is watching me. Um, so I'll leave folks with, Carmelita and I have a 5 p.m. dance, every single day of joy, to find joy, to attend to that brokenheartedness. And Emma has been on the other end of the call right after I finished that, where I'm out of breath because,
You can barely handle it.
but those practices of how do we imagine those,
Mm.
our time and joy and expand it, that I could be having that dance party at 5 o'clock at night with
Mhm.
anyone. That this is an open invitation for folks to find joy and play.
Mhm. Just quickly, I'm thinking about James Baldwin, and who didn't have children, but
Mm-hmm.
whose imagination, whose rage, whose hope, whose love was directed toward all children, for all, a world that would love all children. He considered all children to be his. And I want to say that for all of us, that, how we lean into this imagination is wonderful when it's our children and our nieces and our nephews and our little cousins and our neighbors, but then that we have to get that circle wider, drawing it wider and wider and wider in the spirit of James Baldwin as well, who said it's all children. I'm imagining a world where they're dancing at 5 o'clock
Mm,
with Carmelita.
always welcome.
You want to give us a question?
Yeah. So what's going to happen next is we're going to break out into small groups. We know that we got a leader-rich room here, where folks are doing incredible work. I could go down the list and cite your websites and the ways that you're leading with love in your own context. But we want to make sure that we have time for people to introduce themselves. And so we're going to have do the this is who I am, this is what I'm up to. Make it brief when you're in these small groups. But I want you to take up this question of healing. What are you healing in your leadership? And I don't want independent like leadership, like just kind of, here's my theory of leadership. If you can think about the people that you serve, the communities that you serve. So who you are, where you're at, and what healing are you seeking through your leadership? I'll put it in the chat, but have a good conversation. We'll be in those rooms for about 20, 25 minutes, and then we'll see you back here for a close and send off.
Are we all back in the room?
Thanks.
Thank you all. Thank you for coming. It was loud. Thank you for coming and for sharing how love, a moment when love has healed you. Thank you for holding that thought today. And I hope that it offers you some grounding and memory that love does heal and that we get to heal others with love as well. And thank you for coming to participate in this. What do I call? How can I? This imagination that we have, that Patrick and I have been dreaming with Auburn, that we can make a way for a better future. We can send better letters to the future. Um, that it is possible to heal institutions, to heal communities, to heal our future. And I'm just grateful for all the ways that folks are joining us on this journey. I want you to come back next month. And again, bring your lunch or make sure you eat before or that you get an opportunity to eat right after, because this is not instead of. We need to fill our bodies and make sure that we are taking care of ourselves. So thank you all who've joined us, and bring someone with you the next time too.
Friends, we're grateful that you're here. I want to close this out with a quick practice. One is Emma reminded us at the very beginning to bring someone that whose love steadied us. And so I want to bless you and offer you to take that person into whatever the next Zoom call is you're going to, the next meeting, the next moment in your life, to bring that person in with you. May their memory, may their imagination for the world and for a healed world go with you and guide you as you walk, lead, and love this world better than it probably deserves to be loved, but we're going to do it anyways. I encourage you to check out all the stuff at auburnseminary.org around our programs. And if you have any curiosities about connecting up, feel free to shoot me an email, preyes@auburnseminary.org. It was great being with you all. Have a blessed week.